Hello there everyone and welcome back. It's time to build us a new ship, I think. And if you don't know what's going on here, if this is the first time watching this series that I've done, I am going to build these ships from scratch there. I am not going with the fancy old pre-made ones. They are obsolete. They are nothing I want. If I had the choice, I would delete them right now. But apparently we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. And besides, it makes it more enjoyable experience, I like to think, is to actually make this race seem more original. Mind you, I'm still not quite well versed enough to utilize all the components there and not take an eternity to do so, so hopefully this will go pretty well. Because I had a good time with the Kryklons after I got them all set up, once I got them figured out there as far as ship designs, but this one's going to be a little bit different because I got so many large blocky type of components that really, with a piece like this, this is almost like a ship all by itself. I just slapped it on there, put a nose on, and that's basically it. That's a little bit of a problem I find, because smaller components there that I can kind of manipulate in a way to properly make the ship I would like, at least the style, that was reasonable. This one's going to be a lot harder because it means we're going to have a lot more exposed space, it feels like, because this already looks like a cockpit. We already have engines on the back, and this is already a ship by itself there, so this is going to be an entirely different experience that I was not expecting when I chose this race. So really, how do we start? Really, the only thing I have to go on is the fact that I want to try and make a blocky type of ship. And hell, look at this. Clearly this has to be like a cockpit piece, right? So why the hell does it already have an engine on the back? It's almost like this entire one piece was meant to be like a ship. Never mind everything else, but what I want to try and do is make this kind of like a blocky type of ship, just a very straightforward, simple design. Hell, even using this component would probably be better for that, now that I think of it. With that said, do I actually want to put this in front here? Let me find that component again. Instead, move this component into the back and fill it out to fit with the front of this. And then we'll have to just basically get it to scale. There's going to be a lot of tweaking here. These small ships are going to generally be pretty simple, I want to feel like. So there's not going to be a lot of work on them, but some of the bigger ships, when it gets to that point, are going to take multiple episodes for those who don't know what they're in for. So I'm giving you that warning right now. So you better prepare yourself. And only thing I don't like about this is not asymmetrical, so we have this antenna on the left and everything in the back here is a bit off. So maybe I don't want this. It doesn't seem consistent enough, and of course the back is a little bit off. So is there any kind of like back component I could throw on? It has to be, I guess it has to be very similar to what the front looks like. So if I get a single piece like this, I wonder if inverting the skin would be a good idea or not. Because I know I use this as like a storage bin for my construction ship, but it will help to lengthen it to some extent. Because I don't want to stretch this front out any more than I have to. But I don't want to go with the same mistake of making multiples of these if I don't feel like it's long enough, so let's find out. And I did take some time to look at some of these components, so at least I have a better idea what I want. A lot of these components, again, are going to be so drastically different. They don't seem like something you can just easily slap on there. Like, even this piece here almost looks like it could fit as like a drone to some extent. It has the cockpit area, it has the engines. Most of these components don't seem most ideally designed for like being connected together. This could work, but I don't like the texturing. I do like the front, but how do we get that more blocky type of setup? What would be good? If I can make this look like an engine by tipping it sideways. Would that work? It would have to be stretched up quite a bit, and I worry about how the texture is. Ultimately, I don't want to think too much on this because this is going to be a basic fighter. My initial fighter anyway, and I don't want it to be too fancy. Only problem is it's way too blocky on the side, so we're going to have to narrow it down some. And is that too extreme? Is still a question then I have to ask. That's my big fear once I do shrink it down. Let me shrink it down so that this is completely gone on the bottom. There. Let's see how that looks. There's a weird texturing I do not like, which is kind of what I was afraid of. Or do I narrow it down? Would that help? Does that help to an extent? It kind of does. A little bit. Let me just see. What are the axes? The axes are so drastically different, so I'm gonna have to be a little more creative, I think. So what do I want to do? Instead, let's try and add something to the side. So if I can get like a simple infrastructure component, because I saw a few of them I like. Like this is an actual engine I can use. The texturing seems a little bit off, but maybe I can use this as like a side thruster instead of trying to put something in the back. Maybe the center of it serve as a thruster. What can I add on though? Because this feels too small, and I want 2 of them. Or I can go with 4 of them. That's a possibility too. It's just a matter of getting that extra bulk in the back that I like. And we have a lot of blocks. We have a lot of blocky components. The only problem is most of these are designed for like a bigger ship. So how would that look if I have it cover up the top some? I might have to invert that. I think I can work with this. I just gotta make sure it's positioned properly, but I can work with this. The fact though that there's like one way down there, not so much. I'm gonna have to get a second copy, I feel. Because really, is this seriously out of place? It's not even gonna let me make a copy of it, which is, it's so... Why is that, I wonder? Huh. Never mind why this is like out of place, that I don't get. But let me get another piece like that. And this is meant for a bigger ship, I don't want that. Damn it, where was that piece that I had? What is it called? Model 49. So, good luck trying to figure that out, where that is. There we are. I'm going to try inverting that, have it on the bottom, and we'll see how that fills out some. At least that way I have a little more. I can just put something simple in there to fill out the gap in between. What's the scaling though? Just plain 24, so that sounds simple enough. 24 will get into place, fill it out, and see what else I want to add to it. Because really, if I can make this look decent, this would be all I need. Because after all, my original ship, the Swarmer as I called it, was basically a cockpit, a wing, and an engine thruster. As well as like maybe another like similar type of oval shaped component right underneath it. And that was all there is to it, so... This ship is going to be very similar. I just need the placement right. So that we can get some symmetry here going on. Also, I need to make sure they're in the right place. Is it going to tell me the axis properly? 0.5 and 1.2. Which of course this is drastically off, so I can't really trust that too much, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to assume it's proper. And these engines, do I want them in more or stick them out? What happens if I make them go in all the way, like that? They seem to fit in relatively well. I'm just half concerned what happens if I try and fill in the middle, though. And also, I think I like them sticking out a little bit, if only slightly. It just sucks that there's like a shading, lighting element that's not consistent, so it makes it difficult to see one side. But looking over this looks good. Just a texture difference, so a little bit of a texture difference. Now we just need to fill in this middle. Can this get small enough? Since I don't want to use it in general for like actual outer body, can this be small enough that it might work? Probably not because of the engines there unless I flip it backwards. This doesn't seem like a good idea. So I'll have to... Maybe I might pass on that. Or would this look good as like a hatch of some kind, the back? So how does that look? It's kind of hard to say. It does stick out a little bit. If I can get like a piece or two that kind of helps cover it over, add a little bit more to it, then this should be fine. What pieces do I have to work with? This is like a big... Actually, let me check the scaling. Yeah, this is medium, so... Can I find anything small that would be useful? Hell, this might have been an ideal piece to just fill in there, actually. I'm not exactly sure how... It's still not going to stand out a little bit compared to what the other piece was, though. But with a mirrored copy of it, it'll definitely... Oops, it'll definitely fill in quite nicely. Is it going to make a difference though? The textures are still going to be kind of... It's still going to be the same issue with the textures. That's the only problem. Also, is there anything else I want to put on top or anywhere on the side? Just to add a little more detail to it. Because these are not really propulsions. I don't even know what they are. I know they're cylinders of some kind, but due to the fact they're sticking out like that rather than sideways, kind of tells me that they're not really meant for like a starship. Maybe more of a starbase, if I were to be honest. We got an interesting wing here. I kind of like this wing a lot. I don't think it's going to serve me with the ship though, because it makes it seem way too wide to my liking, even if it fits in there relatively well with the engine. Do I want that or not? Because then we're starting to get close to what the pirate vessels are looking like. Because I'm pretty sure one of those small vessels uses this wing, this exact wing. Unless, well, I don't want to use it as a fin eater. I want to try and retain the blockiness, but what can I throw on just for the sake of it to add a little more life to this thing? Because I don't want more thrusters. Because what I had envisioned was mimicking something like the homeworld like Raider vessel, which is very blocky, a simple little vessel with like 2 thrusters. So this is very similar in concept. I just would love to add a little bit more to it. Like I already said, I'm just not sure how to do that. I kind of need more blocky substance there, but it kind of needs to be attached to the side. And the real concern is if I add things that don't fit in properly, it just look like a junk ship of some kind, and not like an actual ship meant for like an actual full-on galactic empire. That's also my main concern, because I want this thing to be feared. A feared addition to the S-Track. I almost said Kryklon Expanse, which was my previous race, so this is going to take a little bit of getting used to. Needless to say. So, how does that look? I like that. It adds a little bit more. Just going to move it forward some. Or maybe I need to shorten the set axis some. Make it a tiny bit smaller. And then try and find that sweet spot where it doesn't get in the way of the textures too much. Also, I think I want to rotate a tiny bit more. That might be a little bit better if I can sink it in some. Also, it's another question of whether I want to cover up part of this cockpit lane too. At least the bottom portion, because the lane's way too big compared to the rest of the ship. I want to say, at least. And I know there was at least one piece that I used that was good for covering that. I just don't know if I want to use that piece again. Let alone, I need to find it, remember where the hell it was, which is a bit of a problem too. Unless this piece could do it for covering up the top and bottom, maybe? Although, knowing what happened with the mirror pieces, yeah, for some reason, it just likes to put it way down there. So I don't quite understand that too much. So this, I feel I can very easily cover the top. It sucks I have to make another one for like the bottom one as well. Can I get it to fit in a way though that looks good? Let's see, I'll try this and then make it a little bit taller. No, it's it seems like it's curved. Oh, is it because I rotated something? I figured it would be sticking out by now. That makes it wider, so what does said do? Oh, it is like a curved piece, never mind. I just thought it was flat. So we'll do like this and we'll change the set axis a little bit and hopefully it'll fit into the back pretty well. So that covers over there nicely. There's a bit of a gap there, so I think my solution is just to rotate up and then sink it down. I think that helps. I think I need to do single rotation snap. Set to 1 degree instead of 5, which is what happened there. And see, that did it there. Now, oh, I don't have to worry about the bottom. Never mind that thought. So that's good there. I just don't know an easy way to cover over the bottom. So I'm probably overthinking this to an extent. More than I really need to. Because this looks good as is. What, is there anything else I want? Because this is going to be a simple fighter. It almost looks like if you look from afar, because this is basically how small it's going to look in the game. Like, I didn't even put any effort into it. It's kind of what's damning a little bit, even though it is kind of true to what I had envisioned. So I'll sink the engine in a little bit more. Or actually, do I sink it in this way? I know I had a slight dislike with it sticking out on the side there. I think I'll just leave it at that. It's not much. It looks blocky. It is not all that exciting, but I am going to have to learn how to get the most out of these components, because, like I said, this one component here, I would argue, looks better than the ship that I tried to custom build, because it already seems pre-made to an extent. So, if I can find the nuances, which hopefully will happen as I get to the bigger ships, will be good. So, it's still a learning experience. And if anything, the swarmers did their job really effectively. And they still they definitely looked apart there as far as a very cheap ship that's mass produced and just, true to their name, just maxed out a fleet out of swarmers, and they basically can eventually take out medium and large scale ships if needed, I feel like. So that's the plan. So what the hell do I name this? Ooh, what the hell do I name this thing? Okay, I already know what to call it there. I got it figured out. I have no idea if I spelt this right, so I'll have to correct this as we go along. So it's just going to be our standard harasser, because it's going to be pretty generic. It's nothing too exciting, because hell, my Forerunner here is almost exactly the same. It's just one wing. The middle portion is basically the integrity, the repair integrity field component, as it were, during my last playthrough, at least that's what it was called, and an engine. That's basically all it is, and that made me a scout that looks far better than this bucket of bolts, doesn't it? This is not exactly a ship meant for an empire, is it now? Nonetheless, I will equip it. And like any S-track vessel, I think I want to put an engine on here, try and get some good speed. Actually, let me just jump straight to the Hyperdrive Plus, because the cost is actually the exact same, so why the hell not, if I were to be perfectly honest. Although, I gotta say, I did like the look at the regular Hyperdrive up on top. I wonder, actually, maybe I can still have that. And also, I need to fix the rotation snap again. Let me reset this so it's not off angle. Switch this back to 5 degrees. Center this up. Whoops. Because I want to actually try putting this in like the center there. And see if some of it sticking out actually would look pretty good. Or not. That's the hope. I think that will actually help improve the ship some. Although, with part of the back sticking out, that might be a bit of an issue. Unless I can do this right. Yeah. Having a regular hyperdrive would have looked better, and I don't know where to find the cosmetic piece for that. To kind of fix that. So, never mind that thought, I guess. I'm just going to sink this in here. Hide that. And now, I don't need thrusters, especially a measly 10% thruster at that, so we're going to get some lasers. Do I want to stick with one for now? It'll help reduce the cost some. Because yeah, these lasers alone will up the price quite a bit. So I think I'll just stick with a single laser. Get a copy of that, sink them in a little bit, and we should be good. This will be the first edition of hopefully many more menacing looking type of ships. Because this is not a promising start, but I will deal with that. I will deal with the shame of making something that's not really up to par just yet. But it could still prove itself. Oh yeah, and I didn't even have the master or anything else on there, so that's fine. We're good. And let's see, I'll have to quickly see and know you are not being a goddamn support vessel. That is not your role in life. I figured the laser cans would have been enough. But 6 movements, that's promising. Whoops, I moved the camera. Let me just see how much these cost to build. 13 turns, wow. I really need to get my infrastructure going, I guess. I probably should not have gone with the engine for now. Actually, maybe that's the best way to start. Cut the engine altogether for at least at first. Come on. Oh, let me use this side. That would solve part of my problem. And I can't really get much cheaper than that. So, we'll see how that goes, how that does, and then we'll work from there. 10 turns is a little more bearable. It's a start.